Some important topics that are kind of important to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. You know, at Topeka, we had last Thursday was what they call Drop Dead Day, and a lot of people out there wish we probably did that, but we didn't. And what that means, we have a 3-week break, and then we come back for veto session, which will be the 27th of this month, and that could go for, that's when we'll deal with the budget issues and things. You know, I personally think that at that state level, we're not focused on the right things now. We've been dealing with guns and abortion and all kinds of other things, which, you know, they're important in their right time and their right place, but we have a $660 million deficit right now that has to be addressed before we leave the veto session. Another thing that it's bothered me somewhat, which has an impact on you, is that we seem to be operating in secret. There's been at least 6 to 8 bills that have gone through the House that were not worked by the committee or the House, either one. They just stuff it into another bill and then they try to slip it past you, and we've been able to catch most of that. You know, they're cutting funding for local schools. You know, this block grant, which you think, what impact does that have on the city? Well, it has large impact on your city. A lot of things are going to be pushed down to the local level, which that means an increase in property taxes. And having been in your guys' side of the table, you know, property taxes is, in my opinion, a Lucifer of taxes, and I don't know, you guys are going to have your work cut out for you, and I don't envy what you're doing. And for you people who may be coming in here new, it's going to be a tough job. Of course, the budget's a big thing, which, you know, that all comes down to you guys. And another thing we're dealing with that deals with city employees and such is capers. And we just passed a law which allows capers to borrow another $1 billion on capers. And so what we're doing is we're just putting things on the credit card, and eventually it needs to be paid. Well, we can roll it back. I think now it's 2044 when it's supposed to, if everything stays the same. Well, this, you know, if we borrow this $1 billion, this will push it back, you know, however many more years. But that's not a good thing. Another thing that has to deal with you guys, because I know you guys are heavily involved with like United Way and things, is paycheck deductions. You know, we're going to make those paycheck deductions illegal. So people that, you know, that you guys have taken money out to put into capers, I know the schools have done that, I think the firemen have done, you know, the police and everyone else has done that, but it's going to come to a point where we don't allow that anymore. And the way that came around is the teachers were deducting to put into their teachers union. They want them to have to pay that separately, but there seems to be a war on public education up there. It's 2 bills that will directly address with you guys that I think has a good chance of making it through. There's both in conference committee, is a microbrewery bill and the local elections. The microbrewery I think will make it through, and that's a good thing. I think the local elections, pushing it to November, will make it through, and I think that's a bad thing. So what's going to happen is when you have a ballot still voting today with people who've been well informed just on city and city and school board, no sort of races, now are going to have to be informed on all races, you know, at the national level, federal level, at the state level and at the local level. That will be something that, you know, the League of Municipalities have fought against, we fought against, and will continue to fight against. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Told you, man, I'd be under 5 minutes.
Any questions for Representative Dahl? All right. Thank you, sir. Keep up the good work. Again, this opportunity to address the City Commission on any items that are not on the agenda, and you have 5 minutes. Just please step forward and provide your name for the record.
Okay, David Crace. Last town hall meeting, I'll try to keep it really brief. I know the questioners raised this concerns the elephants again, about should we go to Africa and buy an elephant. And I think if it was Commissioner Law that brought up that question.
Well, can anybody? Can
anybody.
Not necessarily can we, but if that's an option, okay.
So I went and Googled a little bit, and I found this article here, and as you can see, I gave you all copies of it. It was dated, I think, April the 3rd, 2015. It's about a park in Zimbabwe, Africa over there, and they have an overpopulation of 53,900 elephants. And they have to figure out something to do. They got about 30,000 elephants available for export and relocation. So they've been too successful on this reserve park here with the elephants. So I know Commissioner Fankhauser brought something up about the Wichita expansion up there. And I want to say there's a number, about 10, 11 elephants they're looking at expanding their zoo to. And according to what we've heard in past meetings, there's only about 12 to 14 available single elephants or pair elephants available in the country. So it kind of makes you question, where's Wichita getting their elephants to expand their zoo? So maybe this is a recourse here. The only other alternative, if they don't export these elephants, is culling the herd. And when you cull a herd, you basically kill them. So, you know, and some talk has been about sending these 2 elephants to some sanctuaries, and eventually these sanctuaries also will grow to a limit of what they can accommodate with elephants, and then you look at culling those herds. And usually when you cull a herd, you get the oldest that you cull first. So, just thought I'd provide you a little bit more information to ponder and think about on this continuing issue. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yes, I'm Kathy Friesen, and I wanted to provide the commission with an update on the negotiations between Mike Friesen and Bank of America. And just prior to his heart attack in February, he had been talking with Bank of America, Luke Soba, attorney, to determine if they could settle the title for the property. And Bank of America had indicated at that point, tentatively agreed to quit claim the property to Mike. And as you're probably aware, Mike died last weekend, April 4th. And I've been aware, I also have spoken with Luke Soba. I have been aware of what had been happening, and so I wanted to provide this update. Up until this point, for us to have made any improvements to the property without a settlement, the title would have been not advisable. And so at this point, with this indication from Bank of America, we would like to try to save the house. It would be our intent to repair the house. In the fire, only a portion of it actually burned, and the rest is structurally sound still. We have made arrangements tentatively to have the outside cleaned up. That's where we would start. There are a number of dead trees there. And so I wanted to give you an update and let you know I would probably ask to be on the agenda next
Okay.
month.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Update on that issue, commissioners, and Kathy and I traded messages this morning. Bids were open for demolition of the structure, the remains of the structure, the address on Crestway. Those were open Friday, and that matter is slated for the April 21st meeting. So I imagine Kathy will come back at that time. In the meantime, any information you need, Kathy, you can get with our staff. Caleb, there he is. Big fellow in the doorway. This is the appropriate contact.
All right, thank you.
Kathy.
Is there anybody else at this time? Hello.
Hi, Rivers House, my husband Dean. We're here today because we were approached about signage that we're using in our store. We'd like to see maybe some of the city ordinance might be changed. the sign that is in question. It scrolls. And we have read the ordinance. We kind of feel that it's not, the ordinance is saying something about being a traffic hazard or obstruction, and we don't feel that ours is that way, so we'd like to see maybe there's something we can do to get that changed where we're able to use that sign. We have messed with the software, trying to accommodate and do what we can to make it work, and it's not doing, not able to do that. In turn, you know, we spent a lot of money on these signs, and we would really like to use them, so see if there's something that we can maybe get changed so we're able to do that.
Where is your sign?
We own Berta's Flowers and Festivities.
Okay.
It's in the front window. I actually have two of them. I did have the same sign running at my previous location on Mary Street, and that sign ran for 4 years. And nobody has said anything up until now, and it's been running 3 months at my new location. And we were approached last week about it, and so we're trying to, you know, get in compliance, but we're seeing if something can be changed. We think technology is going toward the LED signs, and it's far enough off the street that I don't think it's, you know, should cause a distraction. But we'd like to see if there's something that could be done to change.
And on the electronic messaging, it's what, 15 seconds that they have to stay within place and no animation, is that correct, Caleb? Correct. Okay. And it's inside your store, right? Or inside the store window?
Inside the store window, yes. Yes.
Can you kind of give us, Caleb, I'm looking, if it's is it line of sight, or can you give us a update or kind of refresh our memory on this a little
Yeah,
bit?
the sign regulations for the city are that there are no animations, that it's a 15-second interval between changes of signage. We've had this issue for several years with we have sign companies that come in and sell signs, particularly the scrolling signs. Individuals buy them, then they realize that they may not be to code issues that come up later on. We are a complaint-based system currently. They've currently moved to a new location. Evidently, no one had any issues with it in their window at their other location because we never received any complaints about it, to my knowledge. However, we have this same issue with several other businesses. What we worked out with some of those businesses is they moved those signs inside of their business and continued to use it as a scrolling sign inside their business. And that was kind of how that worked with them, because a lot of these signs that are sold, a lot of business owners have gotten the similar sign by these sales individuals selling these signs, and they didn't tell anyone what the regulations were in the city or ask about those, and so unfortunately it puts individuals who purchase those, and they're very expensive, we agree on that in a predicament. So it's definitely something. Sign regulations have been looked at, particularly the electronic message boards. We recently amended the regulations on the timing of it and reduced it to 15 seconds. And so, a matter of fact, a business in the same block that they are at had a scrolling sign. They still do have a scrolling sign. It's inside their business on one of their interior walls, was what they had to do in order to maintain that sign. So, there is a process, the application process to amend the regulations, that any citizen who would like to request an amendment to the regulations can come in and visit with us and go through the application process, which goes through the Planning Commission, which they would review the request and make a recommendation to the governing body, and the governing body would make a final determination on whether to amend the regulations or not. That's the current process that the city has in place to address amendments to regulations.
Okay.
And is that the process that's been used 3 or 4 times in the last 3 or 4 years on the
Yes.
sign ordinance? Because the sign ordinance is pretty regularly
Right.
cultivated with a lot of input, involved the chamber and
Yes.
Steve is probably somewhere in there. There you
Yeah.
go. He's worked with some folks, so.
Yeah, definitely. So we'd be glad to work
Okay.
with them in going through that amendment process.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else to address the city commission at this time? None being, we'll move on to item number 6.
Item 6A, governing body consideration and approval to proclaim April 7th, 2015 as Tevin Briscoe Day.
Is there a motion to approve that proclamation?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Approved.
You want to come down and read
Yeah,
that?
let me find it and sign it. Tevin.
Probably the one that stands up. Come on up, Tevin. You should know how this goes by now. I mean, you got more days than anybody in the city's history, I think.
The proclamation reads, whereas to excel in any sport, you must demonstrate, in addition to natural ability, an outstanding spirit of dedication, enthusiasm, and hard work. And whereas the 145-pound 6A regional championship was captured with a victory of 11-2 at Hayes High School on February 21st, 2015. And whereas the 145-pound 6A state championship was captured with a victory of 9-2 at Hartman Arena on February 28th, 2015. And whereas senior Tevin Briscoe is commended for an outstanding season. Now therefore I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 7th, 2015 as Tevin Briscoe Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their pride in your accomplishments and to encourage our youth in their endeavors towards excellence in life and show appreciation for your good sportsmanship. Signed and sealed the 7th day of April, 2015, Roy Cessna, Mayor. Got it? Congratulations. Oh.
We're not counting it in room. They're just going to get down the road. They're just going to
No, I get it. Just one. Item B is
Item 6B, the governing body's consideration and approval to proclaim April 8th, 2015 as Michael Prieto Day.
I move to approve the proclamation.
Second.
Commissioner Dale seconded. Any other discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Is that law or Dale?
Michael, you want
Law made the second,
the mayor will come down?
and I'll.
Oh, yeah.
The proclamation reads, whereas to excel in any sport, you must demonstrate, in addition to natural ability, an outstanding spirit of dedication, enthusiasm, and hard work. This kind of sounded like the last one. Whereas now 126-pound 6A regional championship was captured with a victory via injury defeat at Mays High School on February 21st, 2015. And whereas the 126-pound 6A state championship was captured with a victory of 6-0 at Hartman Arena on February 28, 2015. And whereas junior Michael Prieto is to be commended for an outstanding season. Now therefore I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 8, 2015 as Michael Prieto Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their pride in your accomplishments and to encourage our youth in their endeavors towards excellence in life, and show appreciation for your good sportsmanship. Signed and sealed the 7th day of April 2015, Roy Cessna, Mayor. Yep. And that was Michael and Tevin. Oh, there. This was their third year in a row that they won their championship individually, so congratulations on that. And then Tevin was also, you were the 6A state wrestling senior wrestler as well. So
Very good. Mayor and Commissioners, item 6C, governing bodies consideration and approval to proclaim the week of April 7th through the 14th as Garden City High School Wrestling Championship Week.
So moved.
Commissioner Dale made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dahl seconded. Any discussion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right.
We have the coaches and the wrestlers come forward. The whole team, that'd be great.
I think I can hide back
I
here.
think I can too. You guys are gonna have to get a whole lot closer.
Squeeze together.
Two rows.
All right. The proclamation reads, as we're getting all kind of settled, whereas the Garden City High School Buffalo Wrestling Team won the Kansas State Wrestling 6A Championship for a third time in 3 years. This is the 10th wrestling championship win in Garden City High School history. And whereas Michael Prieto in the 125-pound class earned the title of 2015 state champion, and whereas Tevin Briscoe in the 145-pound class earned the title of 2015 state champion, and whereas the 2015 state champions of Class 6A for 2015 consisted of, at 106, Kai Perez, second place, 113-pound, Efren Sanchez, second place, 120-pound, Kayshawn Campbell, at 126 pounds, Michael Prieto, state champion. 132 pounds, Curtis Neer, fourth. 138, Alec Castillo. 145, Tevin Briscoe, state champion. 160, Jesse Nunez, second place. 170, Zach Finch, fourth place. 182, Antonio Perez. 195, Zeke Carrera, second place. And 285, Aaron Lozano, fifth place. Thank you. Whereas the Garden City High School team also included a dedicated staff of head coach Carlos Prieto, coaches Paul Appen, Jacob Waller, Kevin Perez, John Baker, and managers Casey Finch, Jordan Toronas, Evelyn Andondo, and Aurora Holt, and Daisy Ramirez. Now therefore, I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do take great pleasure in expressing the appreciation of the City Commission and all citizens of this community on this unique achievement, and hereby proclaim the week of April 7th through the 14th, 2015 as Garden City High School Wrestling Championship Week, and call upon all citizens of our community to encourage our youth in their endeavors towards excellence in life. Signed and sealed the 7th day of April 2015, Roy Cessna, Mayor. Congratulations, guys.
Coach, if you can stand over and flip this side, and then I think I can get you all in the picture. I've got a couple of cell phones, so stay there. All right. Very good. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations, brother.
Hey, Kevin.
Congratulations.
Briscoe.
Congratulations.
Is that-
Congratulations. Congratulations. Coach, congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations.
Is your dad or Grandpa Kenny?
Is my child.
Okay. I used to play ball when
You
we
did?
were younger.
Oh, really? I thought
A few years back.
Yeah, just a couple.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 6D, the governing body's consideration and approval to proclaim the month of April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Is there a motion? Commissioner Law made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dale seconded. Any other discussion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passed. Let me hear. Okay. Oh, let me sign this right quick.
Can I say something just briefly?
Yes. Sure.
I also wanted to let everyone know that April 10th, which is Friday, is Wear Blue Day for Child Abuse Prevention Month. So if everybody would remember to wear blue, that helps the cause as well. I do have flyers if anybody would like some. And you can stop by the CASA office if you are interested as well.
So, the proclamation reads, whereas children are key to the state's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, and while children are our most valuable resource, they are also our most vulnerable, and whereas children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow, and whereas children abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening Kansas families, thus preventing the far-reaching effects of maltreatment, providing the opportunity of children to develop healthy, trusting family bonds, and consequently building the foundations of communities. And whereas we must come together as partners so that the voices of our children are heard by all, and we are as a community extending a helping hand to children and families in need. And whereas by providing safe, stable, and nurturing relationships for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Kansas children grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this state and nation. Now therefore, I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2015 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Signed and sealed the 7th day of April 2015, Roy Cessna, Mayor. Thank you. Congratulations.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 6E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Appliance and Furniture Mart for a waiver of the sign and temporary structure requirements for their tent sale, April 18th through 27th. And I believe Eric, yeah, he's available if you have any questions. And staff's reviewed it, the request, and we're recommending approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed. Okay. Thank you.
Item 6F, governing body consideration and approval of a request from Sandhills Amateur Radio to waive the noise ordinance from on Saturday, June 27th, from 12 p.m. to Sunday, I guess all day, 2015, the south parking lot of the Law Enforcement Center. Staff recommends approval.
So are they having an event? What type
Yes.
of an event?
I think they do this annually, don't they?
Is that-
Exercise and get.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll make the motion to approve the waiver for the request.
Second?
Is there any other discussion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passed.
Governing body's consideration of approval of a request of noise ordinance for the use of Stevens Park from 5 to 10 p.m. Sunday, June 21st.
Do we have a motion on that one?
Move to approve the request.
I'll
Is there-
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passed.
manager's report. The staff has provided an update on the progress of the pool. And if Fred's available, he can tell you how close we are to getting this thing done.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. We are close to getting this done. That's
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
the
say,
good news.
how close are you?
Let me scroll up a little bit. I think we have a few photos in there. Everything's going well. The wall is finished. You can see there at the bottom. Reported in the past that the floors were finished up. Got a photo there on the left showing the completed wall. We had added some valves on either side of the pool, and those are boxed in. That's that box that you see in the center photo. The purpose of those valves are to allow us to isolate the old piping that is in the shallow end of the pool. Most of the piping that we isolated was towards the middle of the pool and then on into the deep end. We do have a little bit of perimeter piping up in the shallow end that still exists. We didn't feel like that was a big problem right now, but in the future, if we wanted to isolate that and test it as part of a future project or to make future repairs, now we have the ability to isolate those lines out. So we went ahead and added the ability to isolate that while we had everything else torn up. Right now, if you were there today, I actually haven't been there yet, but they should be pouring the deck. Behind the new wall is all filled in and compacted with sand, and then they'll pour a new deck, extend the deck out to meet the wall. Yesterday when I was there, they were extending out the fill pipe so we could get water into the pool without running it on the concrete. We did have a meeting on the 31st of March to talk, have city representatives, rec commission representatives, and contractor representatives there to discuss the rec and the contractors working together between the 31st and whenever all the construction is finally complete, so they can be getting things cleaned up in the shallow end, prepared in the shallow end, and work in concert to speed up the recommissioning of the pool after all the concrete is poured. There are a couple issues that have come up that we think are going to affect cost. Those two items are A, getting water into the pool, which will require us to extend that fill pipe out, and the other issue is dealing with some of the joint seals in the shallow end of the pool. If you go to a little bit up that page, we'll show what's going on. All of that joint material in the shallow end is kind of if you were to look at it, you might say they put tar in it. I don't think it's tar per se, but it has that appearance. Real badly deteriorated, missing in some places, and so that really needs to come out and be replaced. Regardless, it needed to come out. Replacing it will be an additional cost, and that's what we're asking permission today, is to increase the total cost of the project by $25,000. That was our city engineer's recommendation, which would bring the total project authorization to $200,000. That would allow us to get that wrapped up and completed before we paint the pool and fill it with water. The shallow end is going to be repainted by the Rec Commission. That's going to be part of their maintenance agreement with the city. That isn't coming out of these project funds, and that needed to be done regardless of whether we did repairs to that pool this winter or not. The paint was in pretty poor condition, but we think since they are going to be repainting it, and since the joints are in such poor condition, I think we all feel it would be advisable to get those joints sealed up and repaired prior to recommissioning. From here on, the project is nearly complete. In terms of monitoring the water use of the big pool, They'll recommission it, fill it with water for this season, and we'll monitor that water usage. We anticipate we should see much improved numbers for water use, but we can use this season to see if there's other places that we can make even more improvements for water usage and get that pool water consumption number down in the 10 million gallons or less annual consumption. I would anticipate with the replacement of the west wall, you've probably reduced the volume of the pool by maybe 125,000 gallons. That was 125,000 gallons of non-swimmable water. It was on a slope that didn't really serve any purpose. And so I think you'll have just as much functional swimming area for the patrons to use and reduce your shallow water, which of course the shallower the water, the more it evaporates and whatnot as well. So that's what we're asking for, that additional 25,000 to get this project wrapped up. And we should be done probably next week with all the substantial construction. Dick Construction will probably be around for a short period after they're getting fences re-erected and doing cleanup, and I'm sure Parks will probably have to come in at some point and do some turf repairs where we've been bringing equipment in there. But I visited with John Washington at the rec. He doesn't see any issues with us being able to get water in the pool somewhere in the vicinity of May 8th. So it'll be a very busy remainder of April and May, but it should have us on schedule to have a normal swimming season.
Thanks, Fred. Our recommendation is to authorize an additional 25,000, complete the pool repairs.
I move that we approve the additional $25,000 to finish the emergency repairs.
It's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Dale. Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed.
Finance Director Melinda Hitz has provided you a budget calendar outlining the review of the city manager's proposed budget by the commission over the next several meetings. There might be some variation in this. Please check your agendas for which funds will be reviewed at which meetings, but we really think that we ought to be able to stick to this schedule and have the public hearing and adoption of the budget wrapped up in late July.
Okay.
Any questions on those? It's always critical to know, but it's super critical to know that everybody plans to attend these meetings so that we can, while there's no action item until the votes in July, we would certainly want best chances possible for the entire commission here to review the funds. We've got an if we need it special meeting identified for the 5th Tuesday in June, which would be a day that you would already have scheduled if you kept with the system, I guess, of a town hall meeting. So we've identified that as a possible workshop day. The downside to that being a workshop day is we may not, we hope to have by then, the information from the county appraisers that allows us to identify and target what the proposed mill levy would be in the proposed budget. I'm not sure how much value the workshop's going to be if we don't know that number, but hopefully we'll have it in time.
Okay.
Oops.
Any questions for Matt or Melinda? All right, sounds good.
Item C, the city's received its customary correspondence from Cox Communications, and we'd also like to congratulate Officer Troy Davis and Kenneth Kenneth Henderson Middle School on the occasion of their award from People Saving People. And I believe there's a press release included in your packet. This may have also received some coverage in local media. I'm not absolutely sure about that. We have a few staff reports. If you have questions on those, staff stands ready to try to answer them. Meetings of note, please RSVP through CLN. If there aren't any questions on either the reports or the meetings of note, we'd ask you to consider item 8A, which is the appropriation ordinance. If approved, it would be number 2385-2015A.
I make a motion that we approve the appropriation ordinance 2385-2015A.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a second. Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Item 9A, which if approved would be ordinance number 2693-2015, rezones land from L-R low density residential to R1 single family residential in an area commonly referred to as Chapel Heights.
And this is just kind of the continuation of what we've done previously. Go ahead, sorry.
You can say it.
Go ahead, Carol.
Good afternoon. Yes, this is Chapel Heights. This will be the second phase for the Chapel Heights subdivision called Chapel Heights Unit 2. This property has already been annexed. It was annexed in on March 17th into the city. It's about 13.58 acres, and it will yield 36 single-family home lots. And this is just a rezone from the county designation of low-density residential to the single-family district of R1. And this was presented to the Planning Commission on March 19th, and there was a unanimous approval to recommend approval of this rezone.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 2693-2015, approving the rezoning of the land to R1, amending the zoning ordinance and the district zoning map, and repealing the current zoning ordinance and district zoning map.
It's been motioned to approve ordinance 2693-2015. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale made the second. Any discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Item, forgot what the Roman numeral was. 9B, which if approved would be ordinance 2694-2015, regulates signs in the city of Garden City. I'll invite planning department to present this item as well.
Okay, staff is proposing an amendment to the sign regulations. This amendment deals with the sign overlay zone. To give you a little bit of background on the sign overlay zone, in Garden City, all sign heights are limited to 20 feet. That includes pole and pylon signs. However, if your property lies within the overlay district, you are allowed to raise pole signs up to 30 feet and pylon signs up to 40 feet. What this amendment deals with is extending this overlay zone. If you refer to Exhibit A, it shows the overlay zone, how it exists right now, and Exhibit B will show the proposal. It is basically an extension of the overlay zone, a 25-foot buffer that will go along the bypass from Taylor down to the river, and then from the bypass east on US 40 or 50/400 from the bypass to Jenny Barker. And your packets does explain the amendment as far as the wording that will be in the amendment. As I mentioned, the only change really will be the overlay map as far as extending the boundaries of the overlay zone. And in addition to this, there is currently not a map of the overlay zone in the zoning regulations. This map is in the comprehensive plan, and staff would like to incorporate this map into the zoning regulations. This was presented to the Planning Commission on March 19th, and the Planning Commission recommended approval of this amendment with a vote 7-0. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Carol? None being, entertain a motion to approve the ordinance 2694-2015.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2694-2015.
Been moved, is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale made the second. Any discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? That one passed.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 9C, which if approved would be resolution 2626-2015. If approved, this would move forward the sale of bonds used for the Wheatland Water Project, industrial revenue bonds. This allows the mayor, on behalf of the city, to execute and deliver a bill of sale, a special warranty deed, a termination and release of easement agreement, termination and release assignment of easements, a termination and release of lease, and satisfaction, discharge, and release of indenture. This is, I believe, the final action that our bond counsel, Mary Carson, has helped us navigate as a result of actions taken by Wheatland Electric Cooperative and the way they're structured that no longer make an industrial revenue bond an acceptable form of financing. So we had to assist them in making this change.
Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2626-2015.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Passed.
Item 9D, which if approved would be resolution number 2627-2015, authorizes the removal of motor vehicle nuisances from 2001 Mohawk and 1209 North 9th.
I move to approve resolution number 2627-2015, authorizing removal of motor vehicles from the stated addresses.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that motion? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Item 9E, which if approved would be resolution number 2628-2015, is a resolution authorizing the City of Garden City to enter into a municipal lease purchase agreement for police and fire department equipment with Clayton Holdings.
Make a motion to approve 2628, resolution authorizing the City of Garden City into a municipal lease and purchase agreement.
There's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on the motion for the resolution 2628-2015? None being, all in favor say aye. Excuse me. Opposed? Nay? Excuse me.
Item 10A, Mayor and Commissioners, you're asked to consider and approve an amendment to the development agreement that is part of the development plan for Clarion Park Estates, RHID. Caleb? Or Carol?
Hi
You have
again.
eyes on the back of your head. Hello.
That's Caleb
yes.
right there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, the Clarion Park Estates Rural Housing Incentive District was established in September of 2014, and since that time of the signing, there has been some changes. The developer and the city would like to, we've gotten together and we'd like to have the overhead electrical lines buried that run along Jenny Barker. They run along the east side of the property, and the developer has agreed to share the cost with the city. The developer's portion of this cost is $125,000, And therefore, to make these changes, there is an amendment proposed to you for this RHID development plan. The changes are in yellow, and it just deals with the cost and how the lines will be buried. Also, another side note, the developer has decided to convert the whole neighborhood into polycarts for solid waste disposal, and that will be a change within the development agreement as well. And staff would recommend the approval of this amendment as it's presented to you.
Is that just the change in the solid waste? Is that just making it more efficient, or? are
They have elected
just
to get rid of their alleys.
Okay.
There is, their plat, their replat is on your consent agenda today.
Oh, okay.
That was presented to the planning commission, and yeah, due to the fact that they will no longer have
Yeah,
alleys, they all need the polycarts. They were gonna do
Sure.
polycarts just for the duplexes, and they were gonna do dumpsters for the single-family homes, but
Mhm.
now they have elected to do all of them, polycarts.
Okay.
Which, and there isn't a problem with our solid
With
waste
our-
department as far
okay.
as
Collection on that.
neighborhood service, correct.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the amendment to the development agreement.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Law. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dale made the second. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Item 10B is a continuation from the March 17th regular meeting, discussion by the governing body regarding proposals for the State Theater. Turn it over to you, Mayor.
Okay. Well, we've got 3 proposals sitting before us. We asked that we needed a little more time at our last meeting to have the commission think about the direction we wanted to go on this particular item. So I would like to hear what the other commissioners have ideas or concerns, or what your thought processes are on this.
Well,
Or if you have any questions from the three proposals, if you have any questions from them, because they are here in the audience.
I'm wondering if we couldn't take some time to possibly, I mean, in the past, we pursued RFPs, and I think we've had this building for over 10 years, maybe close to 15, I'm not sure. And it's kind of been our direction, but I think over the years, the commissioners over the years have probably hoped that at some point it would be sold and repaired and have a full function where it's used every day. I'm wondering if we couldn't consider maybe putting together a committee to explore some of our options and include several different entities in the discussions to see if this could be more of a community project where I think this building has gotten to the point where we're at a crossroads. Something either needs to be done with it and now, or eventually it's just going to continue to deteriorate. It's in the heart of our city. It's in a crucial part of our downtown. I just would like the opportunity to possibly maybe explore some avenues. I would like for all the entities that have proposals to be able to use that facility all the time, share the use. I wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with the continuing, looking at the same proposals that we've had in the past. And Looking at these things, I see the same thing we're doing that we did 10 or 15 years ago. It's duplication. We're not getting anywhere. We're still picking up the tab, paying the utilities, and no one's doing any major upgrades on the theater. So it's being used for free. And I just think that we're not in the business to manage property for other people to have like this. I think it should be in the hands of a private owner, whether it be community-based or whatever, but I think that we need to have insurance that these are going to be done. If you look at some of these proposals here, they got a list an arm long of things they want us to do above and beyond the incentive request. You know, sale of the property to the city, annual property tax waiver, reimbursement for environmental remedies. We do that. Removal of the 1967 fascia. You know, that would be money out of our pocket. Repair of damaged windows, water removal, proper cleaning of the broken fluorescent lights. I mean, we're selling the building per se as is what we would like to do. But a lot of these things are we're just going back to the same thing and promises and hopes, and I haven't seen a change in years on the building.
You haven't?
Not anything to add. I wondered if there had been any changes to anybody's proposals or anything like that. Apparently not. Nobody's offered that up. So,
Are there any changes or addendums that you would bring forth to the commission?
Brian Nelson, for the record. Brian Seagraves and I have met and discussed our proposals, and we are very willing to work together to do something with this building. Basically, from our discussion, the Preservation Alliance, most of our proposal would go out the window because what we foresee is the rec managing the property. The only part where we're hung up is ownership of the property. Of course, both of us would prefer that. The Preservation Alliance would prefer ownership so we have control over historic restoration. It helps with granting opportunities as a 501c3. It just helps when we can say we own this property. And also, you know, just with tax credits and so on, with putting it on the National Register, that would open a door to possibly 30% historic tax credits to the historic projects in the building. So, you know, that's where we've been at. We would be willing to open the door to Mark as well, but the theater and the round isn't the direction that would work for both the rec and the Alliance, because for the Alliance, it's keeping the historic integrity of the theater, and with the theater and the round, that just deletes it. So, and then also the rec would like to use the theater for movies and concerts, which that theater and the round does create a problem again. But there's no doubt that Mark Pamplin's shows are really outstanding, and you know, maybe it would be something where he could use the building to fundraise for his theater in the round and just start new. But that's kind of where we're at, and we were going to approach the city and see if you wanted to possibly direct the ownership of the building to someone, and then we'd collaborate from there. But you know, we're very open, and if Brian or John wants to add anything.
We did meet with the Preservation Alliance just yesterday to discuss that collaboration of the projects and how it would look. Ownership is totally you guys' decision, and we understand that, and that's why we did not extend our conversation any further than what you might think we would be at this point. But it is important to the community that we actually work towards taking the facility and actually fixing the preservations of it and making sure it stays in the community, but then yet making sure that the community has access to it. And that's why we've actually shared our conversations with 2 board members of mine from the Rec Commission, also 2 from the Preservation Alliance, setting on that conversation to facilitate that.
I guess my issue, kind of goes along with, Commissioner Dale's, there's a lot of requests in here from the city. I mean, we'd like to kind of provide it as is instead of putting more community resources into it. I think that was one of the ideas of where we were trying to put it into private ownership instead of putting a lot of capital expense into it. I mean, is this something that the Rec Commission could possibly do without coming back to the city? And we're asking for requests?
I think so. I think that's the whole reason that we wanted to sit down with Preservation Alliance, because there are some shared likes in the facility, but we also know that there are some avenues in which they can facilitate bringing the building back to its original state. And in doing so, that's where I think that we can actually collaborate on the funding sources to get that accomplished. There are some parts of the building that needs to be addressed immediately prior to even doing anything with inside the facility. The biggest cost is going to be heating and cooling of that particular facility beyond anything that we do on the aesthetic sides of it on the outside, or even windows in the alley side. But we do have that source, up front, that we do have the unit. It just goes into facilitating the cost of installation and ducting of the facility. And there again, we would have to sit down with Preservation Alliance to see how much of that is even feasible in doing so in the project. So beyond your decision today, there's still several meetings to get to a place to where we actually move forward with it.
Would you like more time to work out some more things to maybe come up with some more ideas, or how this would be paid for? And
I think from my standpoint, there's a source here that we have to take into consideration, and that is the original facilitator of the proposal of why we're standing here today, and that's Dwayne West. We both know without a decision from the City Commission, we do not know how to proceed forward, because it then goes back to ownership. And once ownership is established, then you know what your talking points would be. Whether it goes to the record, goes to Preservation Alliance. We know that we're going to continue to facilitate the conversation and moving forward. We're just, like he said, it's just that one little small stopping point. I don't want to step on Dwayne West's toes and say, we'll just take it today as is and just run with it. Nor do we want to step on Preservation Alliance, because both sources are very important to how this actually moves forward.
I'm just wondering, maybe we shouldn't take time to figure out which would be the best way to go as far as financially, some things like that. That's why I'm kind of thinking maybe a committee, or if it's just your two entities, that's fine. But
sure.
I'd like to see, I think we're at a point where we really need to make this decision's important, because we're again, I think, at a turning point. I just don't want us to have an empty building sitting in the core of our city when it could be something that would be an asset to our community, which have events going on most of the time, and just add to our neighborhood.
If I may, I agree with Janet. It's definitely an asset to the city and downtown area, and if done correctly, would be something that would promote and bring people downtown. But I just don't want to see the city's funding of this as go into it much more than what we've already committed ourselves, and we've committed $50,000 to remove the asbestos to make it environmentally safe, and I'm for that. If there's anything left in that $50,000, as far as I'm concerned, since we committed it, you could go ahead and use that for whatever you want. But that's really I think we ought to do, and then put it into private ownership. They can put their own insurance or liability insurance and whatever, and meet the codes, whether it be fire safety and handicap codes, to be able to operate in accordance with state law. Mr. West has a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment or two here. I, of course, agree that it would certainly be wonderful if Tooth Fairy would come along and buy the building and say, you know, I'm going to put it back on the tax roll. I've been involved in this community ever since August 20, well, business-wise, when I opened my office in August 26th of 1955, which has been a heck of a long time ago. And I've done a little bit of real estate, commercial real estate, as well as other real estate in this community. But sad to say, Commissioner, I don't think that this is viable to think about that someone's going to come along and do privately get the building back on the tax roll. Because simple fact is that the cost would far outweigh any revenue that you would possibly be able to create with that piece of property. Now, I really truly believe this. I'm sure, in fact, if it had been a situation where somebody could afford to do that, put it back on the tax roll and pay taxes and all that, they'd have already done it. But they haven't. And I think that's just a concept that wouldn't possibly work. And I certainly understand as a governmental entity, you want to get as much tax money coming in so we can do all the other things that we want to do for our wonderful community. So, where are we? This program is situated where we have an opportunity here for you folks to get this out of your hair today. Not tomorrow, not 2 years from now, or whatever, but you can get it out of your hair today if you will simply go ahead and agree to get the Recreation Commission this property in their hands. That's why I instituted this thing several months ago when I proposed this. The Recreation Commission has previously used this building. They have plans for them to go ahead and start to use it immediately. Not in a long way in the future, but start right away. And that would get the city's responsibility, other than this initial money that you've talked about, I guess $50,000, that will get you completely away from responsibility of fooling with any further. You folks are really, really busy with all this other stuff we're doing in our community, and so this is your opportunity to, right now, right today, say, okay, it's over and done with. The two groups here, the Recreation Commission and the Preservation Alliance, have had some talks. But somebody has to own the building that has the wherewithal to get started in doing the things that are going to make it a thing that will be a part of our community. And the Recreation Commission can't do this immediately, but they do have some. They have a heating and air conditioning unit that can go up there, and they have some other things that they will be able to do as go along and get started and get it going. The comment about the theater and the round thing, that again is not a viable thing because of the cost, and if you make a theater around, then nobody else is going to be able to use it. And while that's a wonderful, wonderful concept, it's not something that's all that practical anyway, unless you have a tremendous great amount of money to do it. And we don't have this here. And do we wish we had all those things? Well, we do. But the simple fact is you have to look at the dollar part of it. So if we go ahead and agree to place this in the hands of the Recreation Department, then that'll be their problem, not the city's. And you won't have to spend any more money than just the one initial amount that you've already talked about. Plus, more importantly, you're not going to have to spend any more time, because you can get on down the road. And Lord knows these days, as fast as things are going in this town, we all got to get on down the road as quickly as possible. That's getting harder for me to do, but anyway.
Okay.
This is your problem, but I think that's the way you can solve this. And this isn't saying we're stepping on anybody's toes when we do that, because the Alliance and the Rec Commission have already talked about some cooperative things, and it will be something, if you put it in the hands of somebody that has a responsibility for it, then you can work out the details and terms when somebody wants to use it for something. And of course, that's what we want, is for it to be used for as many things as possible. But your opportunity today is just to go ahead and do it, and then we'll get on with things. That's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody from the community that would like to?
Actually, I would like to say something.
Sure.
In my, I'm sorry,
Sure.
Mark Campbell with the State Theater Project. In my proposal, in the original proposal, which I would suggest you look at, and in the revised proposal for the short term, I have never asked anything from the city except for the building, and if you wanted to put in the $50,000 that went with taking the asbestos out, we could take that. I'm trying to start a business here, a business of theater. I know people here don't get it, and they don't believe that we're going to draw people from Liberal, from Dodge, from Greensburg, maybe even from Wichita, and tour groups that are going to come through here. We have a water park, we have a sports arena going up, we have a minor league baseball team. Those are all things that can draw here. But what are the women going to do? Think about that. I mean, that's what we want to do. We'll draw the women in, they bring them in. It's just another unique setting that we can put on, and we can have it right down on Main Street. I've never asked the city for anything except for the use of the building. That's it. If you want to give me the building, I will take over the financial responsibility of it and let us work. If not, that's fine. I'm going to take my principles that I've learned in California in theater there, and I'm going to go someplace else in town, and I'm going to do my theater there, and I'm going to do it my way. So if you want somebody with a vision, and you want something unique, and you want something that is going to change the landscape of not just Main Street, of Garden City, then I say take a look at this. I would suggest you all go down to the State Theater and take a tour of it. I'll even let Brian give you a tour of it and show if there's any architectural integrity in there. There's not. It never was intended to be that. So that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else? Or? It sounds like the two groups are still trying to work together to figure something out. If that's what it sounds like, the Preservation Alliance and the Rec Commission have met. And are you trying to work something out, or are you trying to mesh the two proposals together? Is that what you're trying to tell us, or
what we're trying to say?
Are you
is
becoming
that we're hung up on ownership of the building, and once that's decided, we can choose a path. But the Preservation Alliance is more than willing to completely allow the rec to manage the whole facility. You know, you decide what's going to go on in there. You know, for us, it was the factor of, you know, if we're having to throw our proposal out the window, we would still like a check and balance where if we owned it, you know, we would still be able to say, well, instead of renovating it like that, can we restore it like this? And not just saying you can't do that, but sitting down with an architect and saying we need it to look like this and function like this, make it work for us. So, and you know, of course, on the incentive list that the Preservation Alliance had, a lot of that was touching on base of there's broken windows and water is getting in the building, and it's been sitting there for another month now. So for me, that was just more so pointing that out, but I did at the bottom of that incentive list say I'd be perfectly happy just going with the city's, you know, removal of asbestos and lead and whatever else that included. Or, you know, if you decide you want to do it as is, but the Alliance and the Rec are more than happy to work things out. We just want you to make a decision, preferably as soon as possible, as Dwayne mentioned, just to see which direction we go. If you give it to the Alliance, the Rec manages it. If you give it to the Rec, the Alliance will try to work with them to do a historic restoration. The only issue there is with whether or not it can be put on the register, and if it can't, then you have to have, you know, that factor of who has a say-so of how that restoration is done. And if it was the Alliance's building, we could say we would like it to turn out like this. But our hang-up right now is who owns the building.
Well, it sounds like you need to, for the most part, I know you talked to your boards, but it sounds like you need to go back to your boards, get a proposal for these two groups, the Preservation Alliance and the Rec, and make sure that your boards are on agreement, it sounds like, with kind of the direction you're going. I don't know, is that what I'm hearing? I don't know. Is that what I'm hearing? It sounds like you guys are on a path, but it sounds like you've got kind of somewhat approval, but not full approval from your boards on this, or?
Right, I think.
Because you said you had
Brian
two.
Seagraves.
Yeah, you had
Correct.
two. You had two from each of your boards, but do you have full approval from your boards on kind of moving in a
We met
direction? or-
individually, then we went and met with our boards. And from our boards, we each brought 2 board members. So our boards are each entirely aware and on board with what we've discussed.
Nothing's been approved by either board. Nothing's been voted on. They've agreed that we can discuss. Like you said, I think if we proceeded without you deciding on ownership, we would end up having to bring you almost 2 different proposals of collaboration, because it will take us down to somewhat different paths as far as if we own it versus if they own it. There's time differences, there's renovation differences, there's funding differences. That's not to say that both of them won't include both parties working together, because I think during the conversations we've seen that we can work together whichever way it goes, but they will be different paths. And that's why I think today we're just asking you to help us narrow down that path by saying we're going to choose you to be the owner and to lead this charge. And then the other one has already said that if that's the way it goes, we'll see if we can make this happen. But I think both paths are somewhat tentative, at this point. So I think, honestly, we're just asking for you to make that decision as to who you think should have the ownership and which best serves the community. But we're both willing to come back to the table, go to our boards and say, here's where we are, what can we have approval to do. But again, I think both of us really strongly desire guidance from you on who owns the building. So
I would like to be as informed as possible. Would it be possible for each of your groups to list pros and cons as to you owning it or the other entity owning it, so that we have something that we could look at and compare? Are you willing to do that? Okay. And then maybe, does that sound good to you guys? Or
I'm going to throw a motion out. This isn't, but maybe it accomplishes both. I feel Mark Pamplin's passion for this project, and I like the idea of theatering around. The Rec Commission proposal brings some change, hopefully in the very, very near future and immediate use. They have expressed that they can work together if they just know the owner. And so I would move that we sell the building to Dwayne West, and that the $50,000 in remediation be available for reimbursement upon expensed, then expending it, and that if there's any left over, that it be available for other life safety costs.
I'll second that motion.
So there is a motion to sell the building to Dwayne West and use the $50,000 for the remediation costs on the building.
Well, yeah, the thinking there is just not to give it over to, but
Right.
to make sure that it gets used for its intended purpose. Not that anybody would take it and do anything else with it, but it's the public, it's the city's money, the taxpayers, and so the best way to protect that is if you incur an expense, you bring us the bill and we'll reimburse you. Matt, is that acceptable?
Yeah, I understand what you're after, and I would imagine we could create a document that would be used at closing that would say that money was available upon reimbursement. We could probably list out in some pretty good detail of what was eligible for reimbursement. That went beyond the asbestos or lead paint or whatever, and went to other fire life safety issues.
raise your hand in the back?
Yeah. Yes.
Is it still possible for me to say anything?
Yes.
Unlike Mr. West, I have not been here for 50 years. I've been here for 9 years this summer. I'm a person who has a great deal of training in the arts, and I have made it my business to do a lot of work for the community and the children in the community and in this whole area. So I feel like I have a point of view that ought to be helpful in this matter. My feeling is the most valuable thing that should be considered in this is the city's commitment to the arts. We haven't had an arts center. We haven't had anything where the different entities can come together and work together. We have never been offered anything like this. And in fact, in our state, we've lost our Arts Commission. We now have the KCAIC, the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission, which is, I think it's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't have the money and the commitment from the NEA and all of that, I believe, that the Arts Commission had. In our town, we're seeing economic success more than most places. And yet, this is not an area of the state that's known for its arts. This is not an area of the state that people want to move to, largely for reasons like that. That I'm talking about people who could really make a difference in this community. I think that I hear everyone talking about dollars and cents. I hear everyone talking about how long the building has been unused and and just left to fall apart on its own. I think that with all the things and all the passion that I heard earlier about the zoo and the elephants, think of what it means to have a wonderful arts community. Think of what it means to have vibrancy in your community. I think that whatever we do, we don't want to lose anybody. We don't want anybody to move away because they're so frustrated. We don't want anybody to have the upper hand because they happen to have somebody who's got $10,000 to put down right now. That's not the issue. And it shouldn't be. It should be, how can we create a vibrant arts community? How can we get together and figure out how to do that? How can we not lose the historical value of one of what is, and I'm convinced because I've seen his pictures and Brian showed me his tour, I'm convinced that this is a very good direction for the community because it is what Garden City was. It's the identity of this place. And I also had quite a bit to do with the Kansas Historical Theater Association in trying to research it, because initially I thought I would, if I was going to get involved, and I was the first person to stand up and talk about it, I thought we'll have a movie theater, and it'll be an arts theater, and it'll show Spanish movies, and then we'll have concerts there.
But I think that's what they're trying to collaborate on, and that's kind of where we're at on this motion. Is the two, what the motion stands is we would provide, we would sell it to an individual, he would deed it over to the rec, from what I understand, and then the Preservation Alliance and the rec would work together to provide a venue for the arts.
Yes, but if it goes, take for instance, if it goes to the rec center, then they already have a venue. If it doesn't go to them, then possibly, and if it goes to the Preservation Alliance, that will ensure that you're headed toward making a building or restoring a building. That is part of the identity of this city. As far as what
what the commission's trying to do is to, with this is to sell the building, to get it off of the city books, and provide some expense for the remediation cost, some capital expense to the building, and that's where we're at right now. So
I understand that, but what I see from, as I was listening, is they're looking for guidance from you, and you're looking for guidance from them. Everyone is hoping that they can come out with some really ingenious solution,
Well, I think the guidance that we were looking for is probably
a willingness to work together.
that,
Yeah.
right? And then what would they do at the building? So the city wouldn't be taking care of the cost, which was in a lot of the proposals. There
Right.
were a lot of
Yeah.
capital expenses that they were asking for the city to work with them on the remediation of the building. And that was what Commissioner Dale's concern was. But now there's a motion on the, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I had one other thing.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Dahl recommended that there be some sort of working out before the decision is made. And I thought, well, you know, if this one said we need the money to take the thing down off the front of the building, and this one said, well, we'll give you this, and so forth, why couldn't there be a meeting or a commission or something involving people from the city and people who are trying to run an arts establishment? Why couldn't there be a talk about, well, we'll let go of this if you'll do that, and why couldn't there be something like that? Instead of just, we have to make a decision, we'll get it over with as quick as possible, and then we'll go on. And I'm thinking that of what I've heard, that was the closest to what I thought was a responsible answer. Because we all want to have the arts, and we want to have the city be solvent and be able to get rid of the building or
Sure.
use the building.
Well, but that's why we created the RFPs. We sent them out. We got these 3 proposals in, and that's
Right.
where we asked for more time to make the decision.
Right.
They're coming back. It sounds like there's 2 organizations that are, you know, we asked and we
That are in the
suggested
ballpark.
we suggested that hopefully all 3 could work together. It
Yes.
sounds like there's 2 that are working together. Now there's a motion on the floor to sell the building and to sell the building to Dwayne West and use the $50,000 for remediation costs on the building, and that's where we're at right now. So
I do understand that.
So
Yeah.
if there's is there anything else?
Um,
We just kind of figured that they're kind of working together. The
Yes.
Preservation Alliance and the Garden City Rec sound like if this passes, it sounds like they'll work together to come up with a way of moving the arts and their projects, and those entities can figure that out. It's
I
not
do
for the
see
city
that.
commission to figure
Yeah.
this out
I do.
past whatever, if this passes, so.
Okay, I don't mean to like murk up the waters at all, but I just
Okay.
did feel like I should say something.
That's all right.
And I do
Okay.
feel that I still feel that there would be a possibility of talking and dickering a little bit.
Sure.
To see, I don't know if that's not the proposal that's out there right now, but just to say that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? While we're, okay, yes,
I don't know, I could see this building being used by whatever entity ends up with it as, besides movies and plays, a lecture hall, a meeting room, place for receptions. It has a lot of potential where it could be used much of the time, and I don't know, I would just like to have more time to see if some of these things could be worked out, but.
okay. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner Dahl, you know, my motion is not to prevent that, but they need some direction. This motion provides direction. I'm motioning to sell it to Dwayne West, period. What he does with it is up to him. It will take some time to work these agreements out. There will be time for discussions. It's not like we've got the deed sitting here, we're going to sign it today. So all of this can take place. The Strings Academy, I would hope, would be included as a potential user of the facility. I don't think they've been cut out in any way by this. It's not what they wanted starting out, obviously, but, and the last thing is, this may fail 0 to 4, or 1 to 3, or 2 to 2. You know, we're 4 of us today. So just because, sometimes it's best to work from emotion. You talk, but let's get emotion out there, even if it's a bad one. And if you guys all vote, but if you guys all vote against it, that's fine.
Sure.
But we've kind of tested the waters. These guys want to move forward, want to know who's going to own the building. They're not so much cut up on who, as far as I have to have it or I have to have it. They're just saying, tell us who's going to own the building so that we can move forward. And so to have these discussions that you like to see happen, I think we need to provide that direction. And this motion does that. But you're not going to hurt my feelings if you vote against it. Because, she'd like to talk about form a committee. We've been talking about this deal for years. Mm-hmm. I've been on 4 years. We've been talking about it for 4 years since I've been on. I agree with Mr. West. I think if there was a buyer out there, we'd have heard from him already. Because I had one person said, well, why don't you just put a for sale sign up? And I said, well, that's been moderately successful in my opinion on the past properties, and to maybe unsuccessful. And so while that might be a potential idea, I think the proposals, anybody could have come forward and said, I'll give you $100,000 for, I got to, or.
Sure.
And we had that. We had somebody come forward and said, I'll buy the building from you. And so, we've got some working together. I think that the two can hammer it out and find some historic preservation and find some use in the near future, and I think that's the way the community wins. Once again, Mark, I hope you get going on another place, and I think that your idea is great. Just don't think, I want to go ahead and get this done as soon as possible, and not wait several months as things get formed to then hand it over, that kind of thing. So this does that. This keeps it moving forward. But vote as you will.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to sell the building to Dwayne West and use the $50,000 for remediation costs on the building? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Passed. On to new business.
Item 11A, Mayor and Commissioners, governing body's consideration and approval of a change order in the amount of $285,672 from Dick Construction for an additional vehicle inventory area to be constructed at the Electric Service Center. Mike, are you going to present this item?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, as City Manager Matt Allen indicated, before you today is your consideration of a change order in that amount of $285,672 for Dick Construction to expand the addition that you approved back on January 25th, 2015. The original amount of the bid was $1,201,800. We had anticipated a much higher cost with that bid. So when the bids came in low, we were very excited because we saved money on that. But at the same time, we went ahead and asked for a change order to add an additional 30-foot by 100-foot section to the building. This will be the part of where the water division will stage their crews and additional storage for warehouse. Should you approve this, the north end of the building that they haven't ordered yet would be ordered with this additional change to it. The front of the building and the inside remodel is already underway. So that's what's before you today. And for your consideration, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve the change order in the amount of $285,672 for the addition. Commissioner Dale made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wallace seconded the motion. Any other discussion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay?
Item 11B was to be consideration of an interlocal agreement between the City of Garden City and Finney County for consulting services regarding information technology, really sort of an invitation coming out of the joint meeting between city officials and county officials a month or so ago. County Administrator Partington had informed me that when the County Commission took this up yesterday, they elected not to approve it, instead head in another direction and sort of keep this idea in the mix, but maybe brought up later. I don't know. I'm putting words into your commission's mouth without attending the meeting, but if you want to give it further description, you can.
About that? Okay.
Or anything else, I guess.
Okay, yeah. When the other discussion?
Yeah.
Thanks, Commissioner. Yeah, the IT, the interlocal, at this point, the county commission voted to table that. They wanted to look at some other alternatives in the meantime, and they asked me to have a discussion with City Manager Matt Allen before they made any, I guess, final decisions on it of whether to move forward on that issue or just completely decline it. So we're kind of in that, I guess, waiting period. So I'll be meeting with Matt on that issue, and then if it comes back to the county commission, then we'll bring it back and see if the city is still interested at that point on that issue.
So there's no action necessary on item 11B. Thank you, Randy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, item 11C, County Administrator Partington, on behalf of Finney County Commission.
Yeah.
Should have gave you my steps, man.
There you go.
Hi, Commission. Another thing, again, hi, Roy, there. Again, at the last joint meeting, it was discussed, the county commission brought up an issue with the new correction services building, the $6.6 million building that the county is going to construct by the juvenile detention center. The commissioners had asked you at that meeting what you thought about maybe waiving the utility connection fees, which are water, wastewater, electrical. They total, the estimate is $60,088. It was mentioned at that joint meeting that it needed to be formally come in front of you guys. So at a previous county commission meeting, they asked me to draft a letter, get that to you, and then present that today. So the county commission is asking that, requesting that those utility connection fees not to exceed $60,088 be waived by the city of Garden City for the new correction building to kind of assist with the building. And so, if you have any questions on that?
Where are you guys at on architectural, on the design and construction? Where are you at in the process on that whole thing?
It's at the meeting yesterday, it was mentioned, Stuart Nelson was in attendance and mentioned probably by the end of this month we should go out to bid. They're a couple weeks away from putting it out to bid, hoping to break ground sometime this summer. It takes around 14 months to build. So it'll be probably late summer, early fall of 16 when we're in there.
Okay.
And I know we tried to clarify this at the joint meeting when the term utility connection fees was used. We got very little in the way of fees. We do have material costs which are passed on, which are, somebody's got to go order a pipe or electrical. It's materials. It's anything we would charge, whether it's a fee or material. Because my guess, I don't know, Mike, out of that $60,000, probably $55,000 of it is actual material and labor costs, and then there's maybe a fee schedule that's less than $5,000.
Yes, the material only cost is right at $38,000. The biggest piece is the electrical connection fee, which is that's what was used to offset capital costs or additional substations, et cetera, whatever is necessary. But the biggest part of that was just materials.
Okay. So I would say if the city commission was inclined to do this, that you authorize amount not to exceed $60,088 for utility materials, labor, and fees related to the new county correctional facility.
Is there a motion to approve the waive the material cost, labor and fees related to the extension of the city utility services to the new construction of the new current corrections center building, not to exceed the $60,088.
I'd make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it, and then I'd like to discuss.
Go ahead.
Okay. I know that we're gonna put a park down in there. Is that correct?
Correct. The Santa Fe Park, which I believe the city is overseeing, took the playground equipment from the vacant area where the building is going to be, and it's moved to the south lot across the street. And I'm not sure exactly, that's kind of in the city's hands. The county paid for the irrigation based on your guys' bid, but the rest of it, I guess, is in the city's hands to
Okay.
see what you guys want to do with the park.
Is there anything in the construction of the park, you know, dirt work or any of that nature that it could be done? Maybe you could help us with that?
Of the park?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're open to, yeah, I mean, it is county property,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we are open to doing some work, or I guess assisting with that park
Okay.
to make it viable for that community.
Yeah,
I don't know what's needed.
Yeah, we've had a good communication with the county
Okay.
staff on the development of the park, and as Randy mentioned, they put
That
an
was-
irrigation system in. I think there was a balance and that lived up to the sort of the discussions that we had prior to the vote being approved on what would happen with the park and who could do what. They've been good
Okay,
about that.
because I think between the two entities, between the city and the county, they could make that a nice little place down there, and certainly, if I didn't realize that was really, if I wasn't thinking, but it was county property, but.
I believe it's already been put to seed, hasn't it?
I don't know if we've seeded yet.
It's graded, though.
Graded and covered work, I think is complete.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Randy.
Anything else? Any other discussion? None being, all in favor of approving the request to waive the material cost, labor fees related to the extension of the city utility services not to exceed the $60,088 for the new correction services buildings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed.
Thanks, Randy.
All right, thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Randy.
Commission.
Item 11D, staff requests governing body appoint a city commissioner to the selection committee for the architectural, to help select the architectural firm for the Central Fire Station addition and remodel. And Mayor, they would traditionally be someone identified or an appointment made by you, confirmed by the commission. It doesn't have to be that way, though. You can draw straws,
Just make a motion.
wrestle, whatever. Figure it out.
I make a motion to approve Chris Law for the selection committee for the architectural firm for the Central Fire Station addition and remodel.
Politely beg out of that if you don't mind getting into the busy season, and I would appreciate it. Maybe one of the other commissioners could take that.
Okay. Told me. Yeah.
No, I said I'm going to politely beg out.
Well, do you have a recommendation there
I
to
think
provide?
Commissioner Dell would do a wonderful job.
Well, I would certainly do it if I had a guarantee I was gonna be here.
Oh,
The election results aren't in yet. I would ask that we continue.
If it doesn't work out, we can appoint somebody else, so.
I'll take it.
I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Dale for the selection committee for the architectural firm for Central Fire Station
I was
addition.
told never to, count your chickens.
Commission's been trying to get rid of a theater for 25 years. I think if it takes us 2 meetings to get someone on the selection committee.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dahl made the second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Dale? That you would quietly accept or reject? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Congratulations. On to the consent agenda. If there's nothing else,
I don't believe there are any changes to the consent agenda from the staff. If the commission would like to pull something and consider it separately.
12 and 13 are identical, so I don't know if you want to make an adjustment on the numbering. I apologize.
That was a test.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should one be eliminated, or was there a name or number?
They're exactly the same.
I get that. Is there supposed to be a different one?
No.
Okay. All right. So that makes the licenses number 13, and therefore the amended list would be items E1 through 13. L.
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda approval for E1 through 13, A through I.
L. L.
That's the same thing I was.
Yeah, that's what we're.
Lowercase l.
There's been a motion to approve the consent agenda E1 through 13, A through L. Any other, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Approved.
Item 11F, the staff requests the governing body consider an executive session pursuant to state statute pertaining to consultation with an attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. We would ask for the first meeting, for the first item to be 30 minutes, and that...
Would it be okay if we just do our commission round and then do the executive
Yeah,
session? Is that
absolutely.
okay? And then
Absolutely.
we get that out of the way, and then we can, then people...
Sounds good.
I mean, I don't know if people want to hear us
That's fine.
talk, but we're going to talk anyway, so. I'll start with Commissioner Dale.
I want to start off with, last week I had the opportunity to drive north on 3rd Street in mid-afternoon, and I got up around the cemetery, and it was really a pretty day. It was bright, sunny, very little wind. The sprinklers were on, and it just absolutely was beautiful. The sprinklers, the grave sites were all decorated, and the trees were all in bloom. It was just a beautiful sight up there to see that cemetery. It's just one that I want to thank the people that work up there, taking care of it. You're doing a great job. Keep up the work. I want to thank the wrestling team again. I mean, where else can you have 3 times in a row? 4 out of 5 years we were state champs. I think this is number 11? 10. And not many cities in the state can say that. So I take my hat off to these young men and the wrestlers, the team managers, and the coaches who not only just coach how to wrestle, but they coach how to be men. And they're going to grow up to be excellent citizens in our future. And I'm glad that we have such a thing. And this is a Child Abuse Week or month. It's always a subject dear to me in more ways than you'll ever realize, but abuse comes in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be by hitting or whatever, just ignoring words. Everything hurts to abuse child. And it goes on around us all over. We could live next door, and we have a tendency to be tunnel visioned sometimes, and we look past what goes on next door because we don't want to be involved. But if you see abuse, we need to report it. It's something that will live with an individual for years. So that's all I have to say, except thank staff and all of our city workers for everything you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Dale. Commissioner Dahl.
Our pre-meeting today was on the Municipal Water Conservation and Drought Response Plan, and I want to thank Fred Jones for all the work he did with that and staff. It was very informative, and I think it will educate us on being better stewards of our resource. I'd also like to congratulate the wrestling team and Tevin and Michael on their accomplishments. And also would like to congratulate Garden City Police Officer Troy Davis and Kenneth Henderson Middle School for their award for people saving people.
Commissioner Wall.
I would echo the congratulations of the wrestling team and the ongoing success. And, wrestling's something you got to work hard at, not like everything else, but a lot of training and work goes into being that good. And so to have those repeats is pretty rare, I would guess. And so, good job to them. The people saving people, to Officer Davis and Kenneth Henderson, that's another example of, what's going on in Garden City that's just kind of behind the scenes, and a lot of good stuff goes on, and it's nice to see that stuff be recognized once in a while. And then, the Child Abuse Week, what an important issue that is, and so I echo Commissioner Dale's comments in that, that's something that's pretty important for us all to be aware of and be in tune with. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. I, too, would like to echo all of what the other commissioners have said about the wrestlers. Especially today is Tevin Briscoe Day, so be aware of that. And then tomorrow it's Michael Prieto Day, and then this week is actually Garden City High School Wrestling Championship Week. And we have a great school system. They do a lot of great things. Is not only wrestling, but academics, where they work together with city officials on physics experiments, and that gets them state awards, like what Officer Davis and teachers at Kenneth Henderson Middle School did. But we do have a great school system here in Garden City, and the teachers and staff and students do an outstanding job, and we just need to recognize that probably more often. Want to just remind everybody, oh, it fell off. I always get like 4 or 5 of them, they keep falling off. But I'd like to remind everybody to, my little boat thing, I put it on there and it falls off. But I'd like to remind everybody that today is Election Day, and to please go out and make your voice be heard and go vote. There's a lot of, today's an important election day because it is your local officials that you're voting on to make a determination of things that happen here locally. So please go out and make your voice be heard and vote. Polls are open until 7 o'clock this evening, so please be mindful and go vote. That's all I have, and at this time we will move into an executive session. I'll make the motion to move into executive session pursuant to KSA 754319B2 pertaining to consultation with an attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
We'll start that at 3 o'clock and end it at 3:30.
3 o'clock, and we'll have
should include Mr. Muirhead and Mr. Allen and myself.
Mr. Muirhead, City Attorney Grizel, and Matt Allen. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale seconded. Any other discussion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That's approved.